protecting religious freedom in America, something that we've seen increasingly under attack. Here's what the president said in the Rose Garden at the White House.
Today, my administration is leading by example as we take historic steps to protect religious liberty in the United States of America. We will not allow people of faith to be targeted, bullied, or silenced anymore.
That was May 4th, 2017, shortly after the president had taken office that year. And we worked very closely with the administration to get that, and we saw it begin to move throughout the administration, and it had effects across the country. But there is a grave threat to religious freedom in America. Again, we're seeing it, especially for those who serve in public office or serve in public service. It was nearly a year ago when Officer Matt Schringer, a 13-year police veteran with the Louisville Metro Police Department in Kentucky, was suspended and stripped of his police powers. For what? For privately and quietly praying outside an abortion clinic at 6 in the morning while off duty and out of uniform. That suspension, by the way, dragged out for 4 months, while city officials in Louisville apparently know they wronged the officer, and last week they offered to settle the lawsuit he filed over their actions against him. Here with me now to provide the details in this case is attorney Matt Heffron. He is a senior counsel at the Thomas More Society, which filed the lawsuit on behalf of the officer. Matt, welcome to Washington Watch.
Hi, Tony. Thanks for having me.
Well, let's tell us, what did I miss there in the intro? This officer, 13-year veteran, praying on his own time, out of uniform, outside an abortion clinic. How could the city go after him for that?
Tony, you actually stated it very well. I was thinking as you were saying that, it's probably better stated than most of the news, the unfavorable news outlets have stated it. This gentleman was Saturday morning in downtown Louisville. There were no cars going by, and he was praying with one person, his father. And then he had his uniform covered up so that if you saw the security video, you couldn't tell if either of them were police, certainly which one was a policeman. He got in his car, he goes down to work, and after a couple hours, he's called back into headquarters and he's told he's suspended. That's it, quiet prayer. And during that same time period, the same Louisville Police Department had officers who were marching for gay pride and also marching and protesting with Black Lives Matter. Those officers, we know, did not get any sort of discipline whatsoever. But our gentlemen—
Were they in uniform?
They were in uniform, on duty, and they were actually applauded by the police department. So you can't get much greater contrast than that.
Well, I'm very familiar with a scenario like this. My law enforcement career ended in a very similar situation out in front of an abortion clinic, because abortion is kind of sacred to those on the left and to many of those that control government. How did the city of Louisville, how did they respond to your lawsuit when you filed the suit on behalf of the officer?
They did not respond. In fact, they didn't even file the answer, which is the first thing. The complaint is filed, and 30 days later or 60 days later, in some circumstances, the other side has to answer. Before they even answered, their attorney contacted our local counsel, Blaine Blood, in Louisville, and said they would like to talk settlement. And so you know that the Louisville city government knew that they were in the wrong position here, and they wanted to get rid of this as quickly as they could. And in a quick mediation, they offered $75,000. And considering all the circumstances, we decided that was a good settlement. Get Officer Matt Schringer back on the force, and so we settled the case for that.
So Officer Schringer, his file is clear, no repercussions here. I mean, you're watching this very carefully to make sure they don't take any adverse actions against him?
Right, and they need to be careful because any retaliatory conduct would be seen as simply that, and we'd be more than happy to file another lawsuit. We were going to win this lawsuit. I know that sounds a little bit overly confident, but this is one that a trial lawyer would like to take. And one thing I don't think we quite got into was that he was left dangling for 4 months. And we immediately after they suspended him, he called us, Thomas More Society, and we looked into the case, looked into the alleged allegations, and they didn't have a case to stand on. They didn't have anything at all to argue. I did a complete analysis of the case, sent it to them, showed them they had nothing. And yet they did nothing for 4 months. We sent 2 or 3 more letters saying, you got to let this guy go. You don't have anything on him. They did nothing, not even any investigation. They purposefully kept him on the hook for 4 months, wondering what he was going to do for a living.
Right. Well, this is about, it's a chilling effect of this. It's about intimidation.
Oh, sure.
It's about keeping others from exercising their religious freedom as well. Well, I thank the Lord for institutions and organizations like Thomas More that are out there defending religious freedom, and those men and women who are serving in public. We need them, but they need their religious freedom, and they ought to have the right to exercise it. Thanks so much for defending them. Matt, thanks for being with us today.
Tony, always good talking to you. Thanks.
All right. I ran out of time in that last segment just to kind of put a bow on that topic of religious freedom and the police officer there in Louisville, Kentucky. Look, I think it's important we understand what religious freedom is. Religious freedom is not just the church that you choose to attend, if you choose to attend one. It's your ability to live your life according to your faith. This has been referred to as a Protestant work ethic in terms of being able to take your faith into the marketplace. In fact, this is what many historians, sociologists say that made America such a prosperous country, is that many of the Protestants, the early Puritans, saw work as an extension of their worship. And that's why we've had this guarded protection over people's faith and their ability. Even you still see this where people are given time off on Sunday because that's their day of worship, or Saturday, whatever their day may be. But here in this case, where a police officer off duty praying outside an abortion clinic because he has a pro-life position, being suspended by his police department, this is a real problem. It's designed to intimidate others to back away from their faith. Well, I know, I've seen it up front and personal. And so what do we do to that? Well, we respectfully live out our faith, and we stand up like the officer in Louisville, Officer Schringer, who refused to back down. And of course, you have now people who come alongside and support you. So I just encourage you, do not go silent. Do not surrender to the forces that want to crush religious freedom. We need people with moral conviction and a moral compass in all walks of life.